So, everybody has their two papers from yesterday where we practiced windows and doors, correct? That's what we did. Sometimes I get confused what classes. So, and everyone's got a blank in front of them. First thing I want you to do for me is on each side of your building, your little cube, you're going to draw a door just like we did yesterday. Now, on the side that is facing you, so this side right here, I want you to do a doorway that goes back in. Do you remember how to do that? What do we start with? Do anybody remember? And don't worry about it being proportional. Let's just do, yes, line up the edge of your ruler with the edge of the paper, do a vertical line, and make it fairly big, because this is going to be a recessed one, and it can be a giant doorway, because then you'll be able to see the details. So start with two verticals, and then line up horizontally, and draw the top, just a flat line. Two horizontals, one vertical. Sorry, two vertical, one horizontal. How did we make it then look like it's a wall going back into it? Well, what would we do?
We drew
from where? Let's be specific. Where do I draw from where to where?
the bottom right.
Very good. Bottom right, what am I angling at?
To the vanishing.
Very good. So from the bottom right corner, line up to the vanishing point and draw about halfway back into it. Then what do we do from that line?
We brought it straight across.
Straight up or straight across? Yes. All right, so vertically up and then horizontally across. And we have our inset doorway. I got that? Good. Good job. Now, next thing I need you to do, on the angling side of your cube, do me just a generic door. All right, just a normal, plain old door. You don't even have to do the window or the doorknob. Just something, two verticals on this side, so two verticals. And then where does the top go?
To the vanishing.
Okay, so two verticals, line up the far right to the vanishing point and draw over. Don't just connect your two verticals, you have to make sure it angles to the vanishing point. That's a common mistake kids make. Two verticals, top angles to the vanishing point. While you're finishing that up, I'll just tell you what we're going to be doing now. We're going to be making a couple different examples of side detail that you can do. So before you would begin to do this side work, you would want all your doors in place, all your windows, because you don't want to go back and erase. So you'd have all your windows and doors drawn in place. We're just going to do doors for this example, all right? But a simple one is just like you think of siding on a house. You know, it's just, what kind of lines are they? Just horizontal lines. So we're going to do two different styles of design on this one building, just so you remember how. On the side, that is the flat side looking at you, facing you. Up here at the top, I want you to start, just do little horizontal lines. Okay? So in your real project, you would want to kind of measure this and make sure that they are the same. But on this demonstration, just kind of look at it and eye it and think, oh yeah, that's about the same. All right, which I got one major big one right there in the middle. Okay, but just do a few down for me. Don't go all the way. Just do a few. Okay. That really bugs me, that one giant one. I'm going to squeeze one in between them. That's why I like these clear rulers, because you can see through. I guess they're not clear. I keep saying that, the see-through. You can see where you've been and tell how close you are to things, right? Now, so that's one style, just real easy. Just, give it kind of that stripe look to it. Now, how would you do that same technique on the angling side? Right. Line up on each end, like at the corner, line up each point to your vanishing point, and then just draw backward. Now, when you're doing this, you really want your pencil to be sharp, because otherwise your lines start coming together back at the corner. Do you notice that, how they're getting really, really close back there? So it's a good idea to make sure your pencil's nice and sharp. If you're using a normal pencil or mechanical, you've got an advantage there. If I haven't said, this is the only project I like mechanicals. Otherwise, I do not like to draw with mechanicals. Okay. Now, skip down a little bit, so you can just leave a little blank space, just so you remember these are two separate ideas, not a true design for a building. But start out and do the same thing. You can work your way from the bottom up a little bit, or just pick a point someplace and say, okay, I'm going to start there. Just pick a point so that you have room to do a few more, do some lines for me horizontally first. Do not go through your door. Okay, so just draw horizontally first. This is going to be brick eventually, so you don't want them to be gigantic, because then they look like massive bricks. Okay, so make them nice little small lines. Which bricks do come in different sizes, because like our gymnasium over there or the junior high, those are smaller bricks, like most homes are built out of. But then you look at these, I think these are called cinder blocks. Is that what these are called? Does anybody know?
Yeah.
Does that sound right? Look how much bigger these bricks are, like the classroom walls. They're probably about 4 normal bricks, what most of us think is normal bricks put together. So yes, they do come in different sizes, okay? But typically the smaller it is, the better it looks. If I got a few lines there. When you get a few lines going that way, now do the other side, like the angling side. So line up on the corner of that cube, angle to your left vanishing point. Now you're aware, guys, aren't you, catching on that if this example was on the left of our vanishing point, which point everything would be angling the other direction. You get that? Okay. So it's just it's easier to just do it all the same on each building. So make sure you're hitting the vanishing point. Because if you don't, that's one of the problems. If you have too big of a vanishing point, you don't know exactly where you're going. So it's good to have just a simple point. All of them angle back to the vanishing point. So right now, they look the same. Just I had you leave a space kind of in between them. But the difference between just like striped siding and bricks would be, what detail do we still need to add? Right, the vertical lines. All right. Now this I need to get back up here so I can show you before I tried to explain it first hour. I couldn't get my words out to make sense without pointing. See how we have multiple lines, and like if this was your building, probably the entire building would be this way. Well, you want to do the vertical lines at the same time. You're just going to skip a row. So if I start with this row, I'm going to put my vertical line here, skip that one, put the line, skip, line, skip, line. So, but do it all at the exact same time, top to bottom, so it's perfectly in line. All right, so start someplace, it doesn't matter which row, but draw a vertical skip, vertical skip, vertical skip, all the way through all your lines. Just in one line for me first. And while you're doing that, just want you to think, all right, that's one edge of the brick. So you need to kind of look at how skinny your lines and decide how big those need to be. So on the same set of rows, we're going to do the entire length of the building with the same row. So if you started like I started on my bottom row, you're going to still work on your bottom row. I don't really need another line right there, so I'm going to skip over here and do a line. So do your other verticals, and then just keep going on that same row. Don't go back to don't go to the rows we skipped. Is that clear? It's kind of hard to get out in words, but just stick on the rows that you've been working on. Don't go to the others yet. And you can go to your angling side also and do a little bit there for me. Still on the same rows though. Don't go, obviously you're not going through your doors. What happens to our spacing on our bricks as we get closer to the vanishing point?
Small.
Right. They gradually get closer together, gradually get a little smaller. Nothing huge, not a giant difference. Yes?
How do you do that?
Same thing. They're just vertical lines.
I know that.
Just one. Do exactly like you're doing here.
I know that's just
Oh, well, you start out like this and then just kind of gradually start getting a little closer. Just do a little bit that way. Make sure your ruler's lined up straight. That's not straight. Look at the bottom of your ruler. Has to be lined up with the edge of the pen. Every time you have to make sure it's even. See, look how far off your ruler is. So if it's even, it has to be like that. Gotta do it right. Gotta take time to learn it correct, because if you just lay your ruler on there, it won't be straight. The line's a straight line, but it's not a vertical or horizontal line. You gotta remember the difference. Now we can do some of the bricks, and I'm not worried about you getting it all done, just so you remember how. Now, on the rows that we skipped, where's the vertical line going to go?
In between.
Excellent. In between what you just did. So, for example, right there's one of my bricks, so I kind of look at it and decide, okay, right there's the middle. So all my verticals are going to go straight up the middle of those. Okay? So do a little bit of that someplace, on each side. Make sure you're in the opposite. Sometimes it gets a little confusing and you start marking on the wrong row of lines. Try to, pay attention what you're doing there. And go right in the middle. Make sure it's vertical.
Oh my gosh,
Get a little bit. You don't have to do the entire thing. Just so you remember how to do it when you look back at this. The next part is what I think is really, really cool. The favorite part of this little paper. That little inset doorway. right now it's like, yeah, people probably know what it's supposed to be, but they may not be totally clear on what they're looking at. All right, so this little doorway, inset doorway that I had you draw to begin with, this is wall, correct?
Yeah.
So what should it be? Brick, okay? So what do we need to do here at each of these points? Very good. It's just like you did on this side. So each one of these little points, line up to your vanishing point and draw back just to the side wall. Don't do what's either a flat wall or like this area that's a flat wall or the door, just the angled wall. Okay, so from each point to your vanishing point, each end of the line, angle back to your vanishing point. Then throw in your vertical lines like we've just been doing. Kind of look at the corner here and decide which way it makes more sense to start your line pattern. Okay? As far as, if it's a half brick or whatever. So put vertical lines in there. Remember, do one row at a time, or like one section, and then go back in and put the verticals in the middle of the first group you did. Hope that makes sense to you. But to me, that just makes that pop, and like people, it's like you can't miss then. There's no way somebody's going to look at that and not understand what's going on there. Okay? Clearly it's the wall going back in there. I just think that's so neat when you can do things like that. And then, it just looks cool. Okay. Sides. Next. Other things you will think of on your own. You can have some buildings plain. When I say plain, that does not mean totally plain, obviously. We're not just going to draw cubes and get a good grade. But when I say plain, it means just like fancy windows and doors, but not like brick or pattern on the outside. You could, variety is the key to this. So a little bit of each. So when you get that, that's your sides. We're moving on. Everyone have another blank piece of paper. Huh. That could be wall, or it could be brick, or it could be the door. Whatever you decided to make it. Yeah, you could turn your bricks and go, back like the front of it, or you could make it like a doorknob and make it look like a door there too. Yeah, either way. Okay. So we've done windows, and we've done doors, and then we just did sides. Now we're going to do signs. Alright? So, some of your buildings are going to more than likely have business signs on it. So whether you want to make it like your pet store or your flower shop or your Starbucks or, your dance studio, your whatever, sports gym, whatever you choose to make your little town. You're going to want signs of some sort on some of them. Again, not every building, but on some. Now, let's start on the easy side. The side that is facing you is always the easiest to do details on. So, because it's just kind of common sense drawing. Let's do a sign that is just, looks like it's just a board that they attached to the side of the building, or even just painted on there. All right. So, and we're going to do two. So down on here, I want you at the top, basically what it's going to look like is you're drawing a giant long window for me. So do two verticals and then do 2 horizontals. So it looks like just a giant window. Like how I taught you to do the long rows of windows. Now, the key to this is the writing. So right now, that could be just a simple board attached or, like I said, a design painted on it. But if you want to write on it, on this side, it would be just basically normal writing, but you do need to use your ruler. So my dad's name was Ted, and I always like to use that just because it fits this example for me. So I can't just go in there and freehand the letters. I have to use a horizontal line and a vertical line, okay? I can't just freehand it. So you write whatever you want in that little space, but don't just freehand it. You have to use your ruler.
But if it has a curve.
If it's a curve, you just kind of do the best you can with it. Okay? I'm going to show you when I get to my D, I'll show you. So, and make them all the same height. Now, if you were doing a recognizable, like an actual building, like maybe you wanted to do Starbucks, and you wanted to draw their logo, their actual sign, that's fine, okay? But, now, John just asked, what do you do when there's a curve? Coming to my D, I start with my vertical, and I get started, what I can, with a little bit of horizontal, and then the curve I do just freehand, all right? So if you have, like, letters with curves, just freehand it, all right? And like my S is going to be the same thing. I just have to freehand it. Okay? So write whatever you want there. You could just write A, B, C, X, Y, Z, I. I don't care what you write, just so you remember. Okay? Now I want you to do what would be the same kind of sign on the angling side of the thing. But again, just a simple, plain, boring sign. So, we're going to start out next to the center, to the right side of the wall. Start out here with a vertical line. And then where's the top and bottom of my sign going to go? To the vanishing point, yes. Abby, do I need to do something for you? You need a wet cloth or something? Go ahead while I check on Abby. Go ahead, draw your lines to the angle, to the vanishing point, and then end it. Okay. Hey, Michelle, come down and tell Mr. Rodriguez, would you go down to the office and let Paula, ask her to call Nurse Tina for me, please?
No,
Yes.
no, she won't do anything for it, they can't.
Okay. Well, I'd rather her tell me that than
Just
you.
go home.
Well, we'll see. Let's wait. You just lay there till, okay? You don't need to be trying to go home like that. You just lay there. Okay? Now, the important part on this, other than the top and bottom angling to the point, let's do the lettering. Guess what? Back here, let's start with my T again. So I have a vertical. Guess where the top goes? Very good. To the vanishing point. Okay? Same thing with the E. Do a vertical, all the arms of the E, angle to the vanishing point. So this is one of the most common mistakes kids do. They get their sign drawn on there correctly, and then they go in there and write the words, and they write them crooked because they think that's how it would look. But you still do the vertical, and notice how the letters are getting fatter. Like the closer to the right side, they're taller than, because everything gets smaller as it goes away from you. All right? Everything gets smaller. We'll get your stuff out. Don't worry about it. Okay? Now, go ahead. We're going to do a different kind of sign, but it starts out the same. So on each side, draw. Well, let's just do one at a time. So here on the side facing you, start out, do the same thing for me. Leave a little space below the one that you just did. So do another sign for me. Make it look like you're drawing the exact same thing, only we're not. We're going to do something slightly different to it. Okay. So start out, make it look like you're just doing another sign like I just taught you. Now while you're doing that, the first sign you did for me, like I said, that's kind of, that's just the normal. Like our plain simple door, our plain simple window, that's our plain simple sign. Then we did a little bit fancier. So this next one's going to be just a tiny bit fancier, nothing major. You'll think, ooh, wasn't that exciting. But it just gives it a little more dimension to it. Now you're going to make it look like it's sticking out. Like neon signs that, not necessarily neon, but just light up signs like a lot of businesses have. They put on the sign that says H&R Block and it lights up, or Dairy Queen and it lights up. Whatever your light up signs, they are thick because there's light bulbs and things in there. So you have to make it indicate that there's some dimension to it. So from each corner, from the three corners, angle to your vanishing point just a little bit. You don't want to do this too big, kids, because then it looks like it's really thick. So just a little bit, okay? Just a little bit, and then connect with a horizontal and then a vertical. So now, that sloppy line. Now it looks like it, has some width to it, depth to it. So it's sticking out away from the building. Okay? You don't have to write anything on that one. That one would be done just exactly the same. I want you to see how you give it some dimension to it. All right? Now we're going to do one more sign on the side that sticks, or the angles back to the point. This one we're going to make it look like it sticks out. It's like if I'm walking down the sidewalk and there's a sign hanging over my head from the business. That's what I want you to do. All right? So, before we do that, does everyone understand on this would be the same thing? You would do vertical to the point, and then where would your dimension show on this side? Very good. It'd be right here. Horizontal, horizontal, vertical, horizontal to the point. Does everyone get that without doing it? Right. So, let's do a sign right here. First thing I need you to do, and this can be totally unrealistic where it is and placement and size, start by drawing a vertical line. Okay, somewhere kind of in the middle of your building, draw a vertical line for me. Then, from the top and bottom of that line, you're going to draw horizontally. And this, however far out you draw, that's how big your sign is. So if you want a great big sign, make it long. If you want it kind of short, okay? So just make a cube for me. Or a square, sorry, not a cube. Just a square. If I'm going this direction, it doesn't look like it's flat on the building. It's going to look like it's sticking out. Now, we wouldn't want to stop there because we need to give it some dimension. So which side are we going to see? Like the 3D effect, where are we going to see that? Top and the left. Why do we see the left? Because most kids get, oh, I know it's the top, but they're deciding is it left or right. Why is that? Why are we seeing the left?
She's on the left side of the movie.
Right. We're on the left side of the vanishing point, left side, so that's why you see the left. If it was over here, you'd see the other side. So from here, angle to the vanishing point, give it a little bit of depth. This usually you want real tiny because it's usually like a little light up sign or just a board painted hanging. So you don't want that to be too fat. So just a little vertical and little horizontal lines. You lost all your ambition, Megan.
Yeah.
Okay? And at that point, you could, a lot of you guys have me like I do, way too low to look realistic. But at this point then, you could do a variety of things. You could just have like little brackets that, of some sort that look like it's attaching it to the building. You could go in there and put, like I noticed downtown, that saddle, I don't know if it's even still open. There's the shoe repair or leather, yeah. It has a pole, I noticed. It has like a pole that is attached to the building, and then the sign hangs off that pole. The golf course used to have one too. So you could do things like that where it's like a little pole and then you add the chains and stuff that it's hanging from. But see how that looks totally different than the signs? And then you can put whatever your business name on there, draw whatever you wanted, write whatever it needed to say. All right? About time for the bell. Make sure your name is on each paper. And if you don't have a paper clip, there are paper clips by the rulers. Clip them all together. All right?